What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Cheer Up podcast. Hey, if you guys are new to the channel, if you guys are new to the podcast, thank you for stopping by. If you guys have been here before, again, thank you for stopping by again. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you listening. These are real stories, real conversations with real athletes, real cheerleaders, coaches that I'm having, and I'm really getting to enjoy listening and getting to know them, how they started from not even being able to do a cartwheel to now being coaches and tumbling and all this, and how they started their cheer career. It's just so much fun, and to hear this perspective on life and on if they're a cheer coach, on how they coach their athletes. It's just super cool. It's super cool. So again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and listening. And today's guest is none other than Dom Toscano. He's a tumbling and stunting cheer coach at one of the top gyms in South Florida, Palm Beach Lightning. And that's where my girls go, all three of them. And so without further ado, here's this episode with Coach Dom Toscano. What's up, guys? Welcome to Cheer Up Podcast. My guest for today is one of the coolest dudes I know, man. He is a former Top Gun athlete back in the day. He is a former Palm Beach Lightning athlete that we don't know yet. That could change later this season. And he's an amazing tumbling and stunting coach at one of the top gyms in South Florida, Palm Beach Lightning. Let's welcome Dom Toscano.
Woo!
Yeah, baby! Yeah! What's up, man? I love your energy, bro. Yes, man.
Always got to come with it. Always got to come with it.
Yeah, man. I'm doing good, man. How about you?
You know, we're alive and well. We're out here kicking it.
I know. Another sunny day in South Florida. Well, at least for now.
Dude, hopefully.
Yeah, man. So look, let's get into it. Okay. Let's get into it real quick. How did you start your cheer career? How did you end up becoming a cheerleader? How did you end up saying, cheer is what I want to do as a sport? Or were you doing something else prior to becoming a cheerleader?
So prior to me actually being a cheerleader, I was a soccer player. I played baseball just growing up through as a kid. And I remember one year I was watching the World Cup and I saw a soccer player score a goal and do a backflip. And I was insanely intrigued at how he was just able to flip his body over. So when I was playing soccer, I got this bright idea. I want to say I was 14 years old, and I scored a goal, and then just right then and there, just all right, here it is. But the most janky looking back tuck you could ever. We wouldn't even call it a tuck. In my profession, we would call it a whip. I threw my head back so fast, my hands just flailed out, my feet whipped over, and I landed back on it. But it was at that moment I was like, all right, that was really cool. Flipping is really fun. I was about 14 years old.
14 when you did that?
Yep.
Wow. And so after you did that flip, how did you get into cheer? How did you okay, I can do a flip, but how did you go into cheer? Yeah, you could have done gymnastics.
Very well could have. I have a younger sister, and all throughout our younger years, she was a cheerleader. She actually cheered locally for Wellington All-Star Jags back in the day. And my mom, it's not that she didn't want me to get into cheer. She just thought I was excelling at so many other avenues in my sports with soccer, with baseball. And at that point in time, I kind of got to that point in soccer and my baseball. I was like, all right, I don't really want to do these sports anymore. So I kind of stepped away from them. But my mom wanted me to stay in sports. So she's like, well, your sister cheers. Why don't you look into, trying it out for yourself? And took me to the gym, and kind of history kind of just set its course from there.
How old are you when you?
I was 15 when I actually set foot in the gym, and I committed. This was, I want to say, in 2004, 2005.
Wow. So you had no technique, no nothing. You're starting brand new.
Just 100% brand new. Just a kid that wanted to just flip himself over, had zero air awareness, but just beyond brave for no reason.
That's awesome, man. But so where did you begin your cheer career, and what gym?
Wellington All-Star Jags as well. So sure, my sister had joined there. I forgot the year that she had joined, but I joined there, I want to say, about 2 years after she did. And I started off on their junior 3 team. we were Junior 3 co-ed. I competed with them, or I was with Wellington Jags for about 2 years or so. And then I made a move to Cheer, Florida in 2008, 2007, 2008. And then after that, I went to Top Gun in 2009, 2010.
Oh wow, damn.
Well, 2000, sorry, 2010, 2011.
Oh wow. So you went
Mhm.
to from there to Top Gun. Let me ask you a question. When you first started cheer, was there any other boys, or were you the only boy?
No, there's a few other boys in the gym. I think there was four others, and they were on the level 5 team. Well, it was, yeah, they had just started doing levels when I like shortly after I got into cheer. Because before, when I started cheering, it was like, it was broken down as like a, what's it called, beginner, advanced, and intermediate. It was interesting, and then they actually gave like levels to all the different
Ages.
yeah, they gave ages. Well, not just the ages. They gave levels to the skills that they were performing.
Ah, the
Mhm.
skills. Oh
So
wow.
I was on the level
Wait,
3 team. The other guys on the level 5 team.
oh, did how did you feel going into an all girl sport? Not saying that it's an all girl sport, but at the time, as the only boy, did were other or the other boys were like, yes, another boy. You know what I
I,
mean?
would- I mean, they were probably hyped at some point in time when I started kind of getting more on their skill level. I mean, it's just as a I guess as a guy in the sport, you see other guys coming in, you're like, oh, I'm better than you. So that they kind of maintained
Yeah.
that level over me. So it was kind of cool because like they didn't like treat me horribly. They didn't like they didn't just brush me off. They welcomed me to the gym. But I mean like I'd say it was more so I was more so excited because I was one dude on a team of 19 other girls.
Yeah, exactly. And you were flipping. You what you wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah. I was completely happy. It was cool. It was
Oh
interesting.
man. Oh, that's awesome. So when you went to Top Gun, you cheered for Top Gun, and majority of the athletes um, that age out have cheered for Top Gun and become coaches and stay with Top Gun. Why was that not the case with you?
Why was not the case? I wouldn't say it wasn't the case for me. At the time that I went to Top Gun, I was already working full time for Chase Bank, and I had my banking career pretty much set up and going. And I was more so focused on just the cheering aspect. And I was coaching locally here. I worked with Ultimate in West Palm Beach, and then I made the
Uh,
transition to Palm Beach Lightning in 2014. But once I started working with Palm Beach Lightning, I'm actually really happy working with them. I've learned an immense amount of knowledge with the coaches I've worked with since joining. But yeah, it's not that I wasn't given that opportunity or anything. I think my opportunity was being able to cheer down there and compete with some of the best, and
right.
that was more so my focus.
And that's what you did, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly what I did.
You got it in. Did you ever win World Summit or anything with Top Gun?
I a second place champion at the Worlds competition. I got second place in 2011 with International Six. Shout out to all my I6 homies. And in 2019 with 6-6. Shout out to all my 6-6 homies.
You won second place, or you got first place the second time?
Oh no, I got second place both times.
Both times. I think you told me a story about when you got second place. Somebody dropped a stunt or something like that. I mean, I don't want to point any fingers.
I
You
mean,
did it
you
right. I
live
was
and you
like, I
learn.
don't want to point any
You
fingers, and then
you
yeah,
you live and you learn. I
yeah,
look back
man,
at that time. I look, especially as an athlete, you have to look back at those moments. It's like you can't beat yourself up for things that happen because you train so hard to be
yeah,
in that moment, and sometimes those moments don't go the way you plan them to be.
yeah,
And yet you live with it, but you move on from it. You don't just sit there and
yeah.
let it beat you up. It's like I'm super proud of not only myself but my teammates for what we accomplished, and that one I actually hold that one near and dear to my heart because it was a short span of training for me for that 2019 season because I wasn't on the team the entire season. I was on specifically for Worlds.
Oh wow, damn! They brought you in. They're like, we got a secret weapon here. Come here. What was that the second time or the first time that you guys
uh,
got second at Worlds?
that, that was my second time getting second at Worlds.
And that's when you dropped the stunt the second time?
Yes, the
Oh
2019 season. Yes,
man.
sir.
Damn. That must have sucked, but at least it's like you said, it's a learning curve. It's
Exactly.
you living, you learning, you adjust.
Exactly.
Oh
So now I
man.
get to train my athletes, and I get to train my athletes with that mentality. It's like just keep training. Don't beat yourself up from your failures. Learn from them so you can make your past failures your future successes.
Nice. Very nice, man. Very nice.
So
Okay, so tell me about one of the most memorable moments in your cheer career. Either, well, let's do this as an athlete and as a coach.
one of the most memorable as an athlete. Wow. I'd have to say one of the most memorable ones was my very first year on Top Gun on International Six. I had never competed at the NCAA Nationals in Dallas, and it was my first time competing there. I'm nervous as all get up, and we day one great performance. Day two, I was a little shaky, but luckily we made it through the routine and we ended up taking first place at NCAA, and it was again my first time competing at NCAA, and
Wow.
it was such a great win. Like I don't think I've ever been so like happy in my like entire cheer career at such a young age. And again, I was only I want to say 19, maybe I think 19, 20 at that time. So it was really big for me in that accomplishment in that sense as an athlete.
Especially coming in for the first time
First time,
to a huge competition because it was huge
one
back
of
in
the
the day,
biggest.
right?
Still is. Still, oh yeah, still is.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm saying like back in the day, it was huge, right?
Oh
Not
yeah.
a, wow. That's amazing. And what about as a coach?
That one's tough because many years as I feel like I've been coaching a lot longer than I've actually been cheering now. So I the memories are endless for like the greatest memories are endless as a coach.
One,
Uh,
pick one.
it's a tough one, Fredo. That's a very tough one. Mm,
Anything as a coach, like maybe
it's not even, yeah,
maybe something that an athlete said to you, something that like really touched you as a coach. It doesn't have to be like competition or winning or
right.
anything like
No,
that. Yeah, as a coach.
I, I've had some really great athletes. Actually, not some. I've had many great athletes over the last decade of coaching. Uh, I think one of my proudest moments was one of my athletes who went on to FSU cheer. She made co-ed. Shout out to Ellie Baxter. She said some of the most kindest words to me just in the process of going through her tryouts, and when she finally made it. I think that was for me a very proud moment as a coach. And I've had other athletes go on to do college cheer, and that's super important for me, is getting them to not only realize like it's not just about the high school cheers, just not about all-star cheers, just what you can still further your career with. And I think that was a very proud moment for me, is with just all the hard work that she not only put in, but that we put in together to get her to that point to try out and make the team. That was a very proud moment for me.
Oh wow, that's amazing to see that growth, right? To be able to see that growth,
Yes,
watch
yes,
her, and
most
then
important.
try out and make it,
Mm-hmm.
and that you are part of that. That's amazing, man.
Sir,
Dude,
thank you,
that's awesome.
thank you.
Um, explain this to me. I got a DM, okay, on Instagram,
Okay.
and I didn't quite understand it. But this person, uh, Maddie, shout out to Maddie, because
Shout
she's
out to
the one
Maddie.
that shout out to Maddie because she's the one that said you should get Dom on the podcast. I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll try. And I was already thinking about it, but she's the one who like actually pushed me to go ask you. So, and
Mhm.
she wrote, he's an old timer back when All Star Cheerleading was like shebang, like he did the stop. I lost my glasses on double O five. Dom was my cheer liberty before he was my cheer coach. LOL. Can you tell
Wow.
me what's happening there? What's going on?
I was hoping you could tell me. I mean, I first and
She said,
foremost, I've never once considered myself a true celebrity, and I will never. Um, I'm thankful that Maddie was pushed you to get me on the podcast. Shout out to Maddie. Uh, Yeah, no, that was a very fun year on 005. Stop. I lost my glasses. We found them and then we danced with them, and then I got a nice action shot looking like I did not look like I found my glasses. My glasses all over here. I had an awesome pose. I was smiling. But yeah, I didn't even know what was happening. How about that?
That's awesome, man. But let me tell you something. One fan that thinks you're a celebrity. Hey, you got one. That's important,
I'm appreciative.
And I'm
I'm
sure all
appreciative
your
of it.
athletes are your biggest fans, bro.
I'm their biggest fan. So at the end of the day, it's mutual.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Let me ask you this. Um, what made you become a cheer coach? And what is your favorite part about being one?
What made me become a cheer coach? I've had some great coaches throughout my cheer career, and I know I started coaching early, but what actually motivated me to get better was just again just the different styles that I was coming across from my early ages when I first walked into Jags, Cheer Florida, going down to Top Gun. Um, Great minds, a lot of great minds, just really kind of influenced me to just learn from the things they did or they again that they may not have done, and no shade to anybody. Again, it was all pointing me in the direction of what I want to essentially become for myself. um, a coach that can provide the knowledge like that was provided to me, a coach that can not stress so much about success in like first places and stuff like that, but success within the athletes themselves and instill that drive to want to be great. That's what motivated me to be a coach.
Oh wow, to make an impact on somebody else.
100%.
Man, that's awesome, brother. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Say, all right, I got another one for you. In what way would you say cheer has changed your life for the better?
It gave me a purpose. Cheer gave me a purpose. At a young age, I wasn't sure what my purpose was. Like I said, many sports I played, cheer kind of kept me on the straight and narrow. It gave me a sole purpose to become a stronger, uh, bit more a stronger version of myself, mentally, physically, emotionally. You challenge yourself as an athlete, and more so as a coach as well.
Yeah, it's true. Um, there was one thing you said, but uh, especially having the challenges of having that athlete, right? To make them even better than you as you were an athlete. That's I think that's quite a challenge, man. And that's man, I raise my hat to you because I know how you manage so many kids in that gym, man. And it's like I see how you interact with those kids. It's just amazing, bro. I remember taking a
Thank
picture
you.
of you with all the lightning bugs. Were they the lightning bugs? I can't remember
It
and
might,
then they
might,
like
might have been love bugs.
remember. Do you remember that photo? And they were all like, yeah, and you were like,
Yeah,
ah. It was just like a
yep,
great photo. I want
the
to see
love bugs, man.
yeah, if
I
I
know exactly what photo you're talking about. I know exactly which
yeah,
one. Yep, my
that
little
was a
love
great
bugs.
yeah. And it's just it's just amazing to see how you interact with all the kids and and how they look up to you, and sometimes you don't even realize it that somebody's looking up to you, but yeah, you're making a big impact on these kids,
Thank you.
mentally, emotionally, physically, pushing them to reach their goals as far as a cheerleader goes. Yeah,
Same
that's
way for
great.
me. Yep.
It's great. So let me ask you this: as far as being a cheer coach, now we're in that topic. What would you say are really good characteristics of a cheer coach?
Some really great characteristics of a cheer coach, I feel, would be a coach who is constantly trying to better themselves. So when it comes down to the coaching aspect, they're able to relay that information that they've trained themselves to understand to help that whether it's the younger generation or the athletes that are before them help understand as well. To another good characteristic would be to instill something in their athletes that they could take with them outside of cheer, that they could put into life skills, whether it's teamwork, because think about it, if you're on a cheer team, you're working with a group of athletes, and then you could take that teamwork aspect and you could take it into a career, whether it's working like I did in the bank, where you have to work with a team of whether it's bankers, tellers, and your branch manager, or you know working in say like a newsroom where you have to work with a team of videographers, anchors, and things like that. So it gives you that it gives you life skills. So a good characteristic would be being able to provide not only the information that you have obtained for yourself for your field of work, but also things that they could take with them outside of that field of athleticism.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to another podcast, right? And there was one thing that says what's something in the same realm. And I was like, being able to take constructive criticism. A lot of kids nowadays, or some kids, they get hyped up. You're doing a great job. Yeah, you're doing good, but they don't tell them, you know, yes, you're doing wrong, or you know what I mean? Is like in cheer, you're constantly not trying to make them perfect, but trying to get them that good technique. Would you agree? Like that constructive criticism every time, you can do this better, you can do this better, you can do this better. They can take that onto a working environment.
They could. It depends on how the criticism is being provided, because you at the same with the same respects of wanting to make sure you correct any mistakes. It is always beneficial to inform them of what they are doing correctly. We call it a positive sandwich.
Yeah.
Tell them what they've done correct. Give them like that correction that needs to be fixed, and then end off with another positive of what else they could be doing correct, or what again reinforce what you did correctly. Um, so again, yeah, being able to be constructively criticized, it it's going to be beneficial for you in the long run, because again, in your workplace, you're not always going to be perfect. Not
Yeah.
everything you do and go for is going to be perfect, but with the same respect, being able to accept the correction and make that change can ultimately help you better you.
Right. Yeah. How did you take constructive criticism when you were a cheer? Tell me about that.
um, I was young once. I thought I had all the answers. I thought I knew everything. So it's funny to actually reflect on this, because I don't think I took constructive criticism very well, and that's putting it lightly.
That's yeah. Oh, really?
I
In
could
your
look
in
back
your
at a few
tumbling or
situations.
in your
All the
tumbling or
above.
your tenting? All
All
the
the
above.
above. All the above. I wouldn't sit there and tell you I thought super highly of myself when it came to tumbling. There was a point in time where I did feel I got stronger, and I was able to do a lot more. And I was always willing to ask questions of other great tumblers that I got to be alongside with, and be like, "Hey, how did you do that?" Okay, and then kind of like try for myself. But stunting, I would feel like I would muscle everything up. I would never have the best of techniques, and my coach would always kind of like get on me about that. They're like, I am, but, or I'm trying, but, and I'd always give that little rebuttal. And it's the same thing as a coach now, that I nitpick as like, if you knew, you'd make the right correction. so I can say, as an athlete,
That's
my
funny.
constructive criticism intake was, I was not the best at it.
That's funny. And now you see yourself in that athlete that's giving you that little, you know,
100%,
you know what I
100%.
mean?
I do. I know the perspective. I've been there.
That is so funny, man. Yeah, that's interesting. I want to see that. So, moving on to we're getting closer to the Instagram questions. I'm telling you, that's for sure.
Oh, love it.
Um, um, as a cheerleader, can you tell me, like, either, yeah, as a cheerleader, because I mean, technically you are still a cheerleader, but you're a coach. What was one of your biggest weaknesses?
That's one of my biggest
Not,
weaknesses.
let me guess, not being able to take constructive criticism.
that that could have very well been one of my weaknesses. I could say that. Um, One of my biggest weaknesses as an athlete growing up, I would say, was
Yeah.
my attention to detail. That was, I'd say, one of my biggest weaknesses. I was so focused on the overall grand picture. Like I was doing my tumbling, but I wasn't sticking and standing. I was tossing these stunts up, but I wasn't maybe locking out my arms perfectly every single time. or I would stumble in my steps. So I'd say my biggest weaknesses as an athlete growing up was my attention to detail.
Ah, cool. Do you instill that in your athletes now?
100%. 100%. You have to, especially now with how cheerleading has evolved over the years. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it really comes down to those tenths of a point that you're going to miss out because you might not have locked out your arms in your fully extended stunt, or you might not have squeezed your ankles together in your back handspring before punching for your double fulls. You know, so that's something you always want to make sure you instill is like, my weakness was my attention to detail was a little lackluster. But now my athletes, they understand more so now than ever because that's something very big that I focus on now.
Right. Can you just quickly run by with me the difference between how cheerleading was before and how cheerleading is now, as far as like technique and what the judges are looking for now and what they didn't look back then? Because you're telling me about the black legs and this and you know what I mean?
So I again, speaking from personal experience, when I was an athlete cheering, I noticed that, from what I've seen now, I feel like there wasn't as big of a breakdown of what skills were expected to be thrown. But like you would know back then what were top quality skills at that time, versus now there's a whole rubric breaking down what is expected for each level. Back then it was more so like kind of like I wouldn't say a free flow or like a free for all, but you knew what the top level five skills were, tumbling wise. You knew what the top level five skills were, stunting wise. Mind you, I said level five because it was back then it was level five. Now it's level six. But
Right.
in that time, I'd say the biggest difference was I feel like the performances back then were just very different. Not saying that the
Oh,
performances now
really?
are bad. It's just it was cheer was just at a very at its like peak stage with the musicality behind it, with the way that athletes perform their routines, the way the routines were formed. Like it was very innovative. Not saying anything isn't innovative now because there's still very new styles that are coming out, still very well put together routines. It's
Yeah.
just I feel like just in that time when I was cheering, is musicality definitely made a big difference and the overall performance.
So you're saying the musicality and the performance was better back in the day? I mean, not
Again,
taking.
personal opinion, yes,
Oh,
yeah,
wow, that's interesting.
yeah.
Wow. Because you know how there's some gyms that they had a lot of flair to their stuff and you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I would have thought that back then it was not as much as now, but you're saying back then it was wow,
Oh
that's
yeah,
interesting. That's it.
even so, yeah, it was they
Yeah,
pioneered.
that's
There's some very interesting stuff that was pioneered back in the early cheer days.
right, because nobody's seen that. Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. Um, let me ask you this. Opposite of your weaknesses, what do you think is your biggest strengths?
My biggest strengths.
Yeah, I know that's a hard question because a lot of people can see negative in someone. Like I'll tell you my weaknesses all day long, but it's hardest to actually reflect on your strengths. What are your biggest strengths?
I can say that my biggest strength, well, one of my biggest strengths was my drive to not want to quit or give up, especially in a moment like of a performance. Again, my first NCAA win, my only NCAA win. That year I tossed my rewind stunt and I caught it and I didn't catch it at the top. I caught it and it was kind of like forward, but had I dropped it, I might not have won. But it was the fact that I fought to keep that stunt up alongside my side base and my flyer. We fought to keep it up. It was just I feel like that's one of my strengths is I don't quit. I can't just give up. And whether it's in training or whether it's in performance, I just want to always either do better or do one more rep because until I'm crawling out of that gym or out of that practice, I just want to keep going and going to my fullest capacity.
Oh shoot, yeah, I see you work a lot. When you were on platinum, I remember that those platinum days, man. Dude,
Whew.
you were a
Oh yeah,
beast, bro. Yeah,
those were
practices
fun.
and
Those were some fun
everything.
days.
Yeah, I
Yeah, those were some
remember.
fun times.
And I think you were injured at the time, were you?
Uh,
Were
I,
you going through an
yes,
injury or something? Always.
always. The body is broken down in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. I'm blessed that I've had a great chiropractor over the years and a great access to different physical therapy. Um, just a great physical therapist. How about that?
Oh man, that's funny, man. Because okay, for those that don't know, Dom, um, Geez, this guy, okay, for one, he considers himself old. I mean, I don't know how old you are to be in cheer, but if you look at this guy tumbling, I mean, dude, it's sick. I mean, I know there's a lot of sick tumblers out there, so don't get offended if, oh, I'm a sick tumbler too. Don't get offended. This is one of the sick tumblers that I know personally. Also with Robbie, just in
Shout out to
case,
Robbie.
shout out
Shout
to
out to Robbie
Robbie
Gregory.
because, dude, that guy is also sick as well. And I got a video of both of you doing a standing full. Dude, that was the sickest thing I've ever seen. I mean, you guys, I think
Thank you.
males in general, just males that tumble and cheer are dope as fuck. Sorry, beep. I'll beep that out. I just think that, because there's kids watching this, so they're dope as hell. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's cool. It's definitely cool because little sidebar. Robbie was actually somebody I viewed on YouTube at an early age for tumbling. I look back and I even tell him about one of his old Daytona videos where he was tumbling in the grass at Stunt Fest. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like you're probably one of the reasons why I wanted to get even better at tumbling because I saw you doing some of the craziest stuff when I was first getting into cheer. I was like, I want to do that one day. So
wow. And
yeah,
you're there, bro. I mean, I mean, those
I'm
that don't
old.
know Robbie
I'm old.
again. Yeah, this is the thing. The guy says, I'm old. But when he tumbles, he'll just out of the blue, like I'm photographing over here something, and out of the blue, I see him on the corner of my eye. He's boom, back to flip. I'm like, this guy just does it like no problem. I'm like, how? That's awesome.
We'll
And
call that
yeah,
we'll call that my ADD standing full. I'll be coaching, standing full. All right, we still got it, guys. We're good to go.
yeah. He wants to be a cheerleader again. He wants to compete.
uh,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me ask you this. I know you become when I see you every time in the gym, you're super, super hype. The energy is like up here, right? But do you have moments where you're like down here? You're like, you know, you're not feeling it emotionally, depressed. Do you get those moments or not
that
anymore?
that is a very great question, and to be 100% honest, there's been many moments throughout my cheer career, whether it's as an athlete or even as a coach, where you do maintain such high levels of energy, happiness. You know, you put on the smile. We always one of the things is sometimes we have to say fake it till you make it. For that 2.5 minutes, you put on that fake smile, and no matter what's going on in that day, you focus on that performance, or no matter what's going on outside of cheer, you have this practice. Yeah, I've definitely had those moments where I wanted to give up. I had those moments where I just want to say, forget this. I can't do this anymore, and it was very hard. I can honestly probably pinpoint some of those moments, whether it's down to certain years, but at the end of the day, as an athlete, when I walked into the gym and I saw my teammates, that was one of my biggest factors for constantly, pushing myself is they would see me, I would see them. It was just go time. Like it was, I got to put aside my fears. I always use this term out like this little analogy. Leave your baggage, your emotional baggage at the door. It's going to be there when you leave. You can pick it right back up when you get back in your car. So I use the gym as my escape. I use practices as my escape. No matter how hard the practices were, no matter how bad I was getting beat up, no matter how injured I was or having to push through, I just knew that the person next to me was pushing equally as hard and that they were expecting the same from me. So I couldn't give up. I couldn't just let myself, let whether it's depression or just my emotional barricades prevent me from just continuing. And the same thing as a coach now. I walk into the gym. I get to see all the coaches I work with. We're hyping each other up. We're hyping the athletes up. Bouncing still ideas off one another, and it keeps you going. Just that, just the camaraderie has kept me, motivated.
Do you do anything outside of work to kind of combat depression? Because like you said, you leave the baggage out the door, but once you walk out the door, you pick that bag up. And what do you do to kind of beat
I
that?
so I take that baggage I carry with me and I put it on the dumbbells that I pick up and I push those things over my head until my shoulders, my chest get sore. Just I keep that with me because it's
Yeah,
added weight at the gym. I like to work out. So outside
I
of
like that.
outside of coaching, I just again we all deal with things whether it's mentally or physically even. It's just we just take we keep, obviously we carry it with us. So I take
Yeah.
that with me to the gym, and then it sits with me
Nice.
as I'm doing all my workouts. And I love taking it with me in the cold plunge.
Yeah.
I
Oh
sit, I sit.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I put my body in that cold plunge for about 5 minutes, and whatever baggage was with me, it just drowns out because it can't handle the freezing cold.
Nice, bro. I love that, bro. All right, Dom. So we're gonna the Instagram Q&A. Some people want to know your answers on.
Let's hear what we got.
They have questions and you have answers. So one of them is it's one of your athletes actually. Um, so Irina wants to know what makes a great athlete in your eyes.
A great athlete in my eyes would be someone who's willing to push themselves past their limits, even when they know that it's going to be tough. They know it's going to be a struggle. They know that it's almost going to be not impossible, but difficult. That a great athlete is one that's going to push past any any barrier that's going to be set before them. Again, failure is inevitable, but you got to understand it. In order to be great, you just got to push through it. So that's a great athlete to me.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Cool. And to be great, you got to fail. You to be great, you got
Yeah,
to try, right?
I agree.
And if you don't try, you don't fail and you don't succeed.
There you go.
All right, I have a second. Another question. Let's see. What is your biggest motivator for staying in the cheer industry as long as you have?
My biggest motivator, I would say, is the opportunity to guide this generation to enjoy the passion that I've grown for cheerleading. Again, over the years, I've learned so much, and it's what keeps me going is the fact that I get to keep introducing a lot of athletes, whether new or old, to something new for them. I'm always trying to find new and innovative ways to train. Sometimes my old methods work as well, but it's just the option of being able to show these kids what they're capable of. That's what keeps me going in this cheerleading thing.
Oh man, that's awesome. Another question I have from the gram. Um, let's see. What are some certifications? This is more as far as certifications. Somebody asked, what are some certifications someone should get if they want to be a tumbling coach?
USASF, getting your certifications for tumbling, I'd say starting with level one, learning the ins and outs of all the level one tumbling fields, and then correlating that to your level two, three, four, five, and six. And yeah, just going through USASF, getting your background check, your membership, and going through that training right there. That certification is what I received. So anybody want to do the same thing, I was just going through the same process. Now you don't have to, because I mean I think USASF is more so for being able to go into the competitions as a coach. But if you want to, have that backing of certification, definitely head down that route.
That definitely helps for sure. And
100%.
another question: how do you plan out your weekly lessons for group lessons? What is the coach? Oh, never mind. What is? How do you plan out your weekly lessons for group lessons?
Well, usually, if I'm not reaching out to my athletes on my teams or reaching out to individuals that have previously inquired about doing private lessons with me, I usually will plan it out through again with the parents, scheduling whether it's the private lessons or if I have classes that are already set, just making a game plan of what I want my athletes to warm up with, what I want to attack for that class or that private. I try to do that with like at least with a good day or two in advance for the setup of like weekly private lessons and group classes. I try to do that like a week in advance or so.
I see. Yeah, because it could get really hectic. I'm
It can,
sure.
it can,
All
especially
right,
with
so
the
I have a
limited time.
right, exactly. I have a question from one of former athletes, cheer mom, Melissa. Um, I know you've stunted with her, and you guys used to be, I believe, on the same team at one point. So she wants to know what is the coaching philosophy?
I'd say a good philosophy is better yourself to better your athletes. You can't just be stuck in your ways and expect somebody to be better. You have to constantly be willing to learn and be willing to grow as you would, your athletes. You want them to constantly learn and to grow. So just because you know what you know doesn't mean you have to be stuck in that. a good philosophy is, continue to continue to teach yourself and grow for yourself so you can relay the same thing to your athletes.
Lead by example kind of thing.
Lead by example. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So I have this final question for you. Not from the gram. This is my final question. So this is the last thing before we go here and wrap it up. Let's say all the cheer videos online, all the knowledge about cheer, right, that there is, social platforms, everything disappears, right? And then you are the only one that has the cheer knowledge, right? And
Oh,
then,
God.
yeah. And
It's a
then
scary thought.
you're left with one athlete, right? And then let me ask you this. What are three valuable things that you could pass on to this athlete so they can be successful? Just say everything's gone. There's nothing. There's no like, oh, hey, go to YouTube and watch this or nothing. There's nothing. Just you and this athlete. You have all this cheer knowledge. What are three valuable things that you can pass on to this athlete so they can be
Three,
successful?
three valuable things I would say to pass on if there was no access to nothing else whatsoever.
Okay.
I'd say the first one would be don't settle for less than what you feel is perfect while practicing. Always strive to not always strive to not it's not practice makes perfect, it's strive to make perfect practice, if that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
one thing is, there's again, practice doesn't just make perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect. That was a great thing I was taught. That's one thing. um, Second thing would be to constantly push others around you, not in a negative sense, but to motivate. I'd say constantly be motivational, not just for yourself, but for others around you, because if you uplift those around you, it can just constantly grow up and grow to be something bigger than what you could ever imagine it to be. And last but not least, block out negativity. Block out negativity, because negativity could snowball, and like again, it kind of almost goes hand in hand with build up those around you. You build up those around you. You build a solid foundation to make something so much bigger. Blocking out the negativity, it can help you focus on what you're accomplishing. Yes, like we've said before, failure is inevitable, but if you only focus on the negative aspects of failure, you prevent yourself from growing or getting better. So once you block out that negativity, you just kind of keep your focus on your goals, your future successes, your future failures that turn into successes. Keeps you on the straight and narrow.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. I just want to give you a round of applause, man, because you've been nothing but great, brother. Yes. Thank you. Man, dude. First of all, for being on the podcast.
No, honest
Um,
pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
no, man. Yeah, no problem, man. And then second for just being you, man. Just being you. You're always with that hype energy. Oh, there's Mindy. Mindy's like, that's Mindy.
She's like,
That's
hey, come on.
Dom's puppy. That's Dom's girl, just so you know. Yeah, look at her. Yeah. Man, I haven't seen her in a while, brother.
Yeah, she comes to the gym once in a while.
Everybody, that's Mindy. And just being you, man, coming into the gym with your energy, like you said, you leave whatever you have outside of the gym. I could never tell, you always come with a positive attitude, hype energy. And I love that the kids get to see that part of you, because that in in a sense, they get that energy, and they express that same energy out to everybody else, which is
Mhm.
great. Dude, I'm telling you, Palm Beach Lightning, dude, you're the biggest asset. You one of the greatest assets in Palm Beach Lightning.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for
Appreciate
everything you
that.
do, my man. If you guys didn't know, Dom also coaches one of my daughters, but in general, he technically coaches all of them because they're always in the gym.
They are my little gym rats.
Yeah, the little gym rats, man. They're always
Love
tumbling
it.
and stuff like that.
Always,
But
always
yeah,
pushing, always working.
yeah, exactly. Thank you again for being on the pod. Um, yeah, man. Appreciate you.
Of course, no, appreciate you, and I'll be seeing you every single day in the gym, my man.
You know,
Hey,
right?
keep,
Yes,
hey,
you know, that's right.
keep up all the great work with your photography. It's
Uh,
awesome. It's awesome to see what you do. The kids love it. It's awesome that the parents get to see that side of them while they're in cheer because they get to see the competition aspect, but you get to bring light to the practice of it. The struggles, the triumphs. They get to see it. So shout out to you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, Dom. Thank you so much for being on the pond, and I'll see you guys later. I'll leave. Do you even have any social media that I can put on there? No.
The coach Dom Toscano. That's the one that you can reach out to me on or follow up on.
If you have any questions about tumbling, stunting, anything cheer related, I'll leave Dom's
How
information in the
about it?
description below. Subscribe to the channel, and just reach out to this guy. All right. Thanks, Dom. Again, I appreciate you, man. Peace.
God bless, brother.
You too. Later. Yeah, baby.